Hello everybody, this is David, and today is going to be my review for Marvel's next big film in their cinematic universe, Guardians of the Galaxy. So let's begin with these characters. How are these characters? I think all of these characters are great. The main five characters, who are Star-Lord, played by Chris Pratt, Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, Drax the Destroyer, played by Dave Bautista, and Groot and Rocket, voiced respectively by Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper. These five together, the whole purpose of this movie was these five characters. If these five characters did not gel well together, this movie would have been a complete disaster. Thankfully, the characters work very well together, and their chemistry together is great. To me, when I watch this movie, my favorite characters by far are definitely Groot and Rocket Raccoon. I love Star-Lord also. I thought Chris Pratt did a tremendous job playing that character. Zoe Saldana really played a great badass. she was really badass, I'll say that. And so was Drax, Dave Bautista. You know, even though he was the weakest of the bunch, I felt he fit with what he was trying to play, and he did a really good job playing that. There were some lines he delivered that like really worked nicely. But definitely Rocket the Raccoon. He's gonna be the one I think most people are gonna be talking about while watching this film. Groot has a lot of great moments too. He's gonna be the one that a lot of people are really gonna like. He's the innocent one of the group. Rocket has the best lines, but Groot is gonna be that character that he's like the most innocent that I think a lot of people will fall in love with instantly. Especially at the end, there's a really good Hulk type moment. Remember when the Hulk smashed Loki around in the Avengers? There's a moment like similar to that for Groot, and that moment's definitely gonna win. I think there's moments before that will win people over, but that moment definitely will win a lot of people over. The comedy in this movie was very well paced. I felt like some of the jokes fell flat for me, but most of the jokes are really funny and really nice to watch. This is probably the most comedic Marvel has gotten so far, which is not a bad thing. It's a really good thing, especially when it's really well done. Me personally, as long as I'm having a lot of fun while watching the movie, whether it's comedy or drama or whatever, I don't care. Just give me a good time, and this movie is a good time. There are a couple of very emotional parts. The biggest one for me was the beginning of the film, which shows a little bit of Peter Quill when he was just a kid, and we get to see his relationship with his mother, and I didn't know what to expect. And when I saw this movie, it kind of reminded me of Up. It's that emotional, where it might even get you to start tearing up a little bit. It was definitely something I wasn't expecting, and it was really well done and nicely executed. So, and definitely set up what the movie was. Not, I mean, there's a lot of heart to this movie, but I don't think that it turned out it continued that dramatic theme, because right after that scene, it sets up the real tone of the film, which is going to be a more a comedic tone to it. Like, you think, okay, this is going to be a dark adventure film. You didn't know where they were going with it when you see that opening shot. And then when it takes place a couple years later, and you see Star-Lord on this other planet in the beginning, you still don't know quite well what the tone is going to be until he turns on his Walkman. Sorry, I was gonna say walkie-talkie. Until he turns on his Walkman, you don't know what this movie is gonna be. And then once that happens, then you get the idea. Once the music starts playing, okay, I think I have an idea of what this movie wants to be now, and that really sets up the tone for the film. It kind of has a lot of like Star Wars meets Firefly in there. Definitely, if you're a fan of like a lot of those great fun science fiction films, you'll definitely love this. If you are a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I still think you'll enjoy this quite a lot. Like if you've seen Iron Man, the Avengers, the Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Thor, any of those films, it's still in that universe. It's kind of more of a departure from those ones, and it will be interesting to see when they decide to bring Guardians of the Galaxy together with the Avengers, because we know Thanos, who is a villain in this movie. He was the villain that showed up at the end credits of the Avengers. You people, if you're not watching the end credits, please watch them, because every Marvel movie ever since the first Iron Man movie has had end credits, and each of them, some of them set up things better than others. Others are just there for fun. But the one at the end of the Avengers is a little sneak peek to the villain that's in this movie. He doesn't play a large role. He's more of like the Emperor right now, where the Emperor was in the original Star Wars movies. And we kind of get a Darth Vader who's not as interesting as Darth Vader, but he's like the Darth Vader, like the one that the puppet, while the Emperor is taking a back seat. It definitely is a lot like those films that I mentioned. There's even a little bit of Indiana Jones there in the beginning, like I mentioned, the part where he's going into this tomb or something, and he's looking for this the artifact that's going to play a large role in the movie. Speaking of, the Infinity Gems play a large role in this movie. Well, one of them do, but the others get briefly mentioned. And one of the holograms that the Collector shows, the Collector is the character we met at the end credits of Thor: The Dark World. And he explains a little bit more about the Infinity Gems. And two of them they show as a hologram. Was the first one was the Tesseract. We get to see a hologram of that again. So we know that's going to be coming back into play sometime down the road. And we see the Ether. I think it was the Ether. From Thor: The Dark World. We know they use that in Thor: The Dark World. I might be getting my facts mixed up, but I think that's what the second Infinity Gem was. And now we get a third one seen in this one that's being used by the main villain. So all of this is being set up, obviously, for what people are hoping will be the Avengers 3. That all of this is leading up to that one. Not the Avengers 2 that's coming out next year. This, I think, will be leading up to the Avengers 3. So, one of the things that I was kind of disappointed by with this movie was the villains. I felt the villains were a little weak in this one. Thanos is there, but like I said, he doesn't play a large role, so his effect doesn't really come to play in this one. Instead, we get a villain named Ronan, who is, I guess, our main villain. We also get a few other villains on the side, but Ronan is the main one, the main threat that they're going after. But like I said, he's kind of like the second fiddle, like the one who's causing the trouble before the main villain does. And Thanos, we get only like 2 or 3 scenes of him, and they're very brief. But clearly, we know we're gonna eventually get him down the road in a bigger role. So that's just kind of like one of the things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe likes to do, to set up some characters and use. So this one is more like, I wouldn't say he's like the weakest villain in my opinion that Marvel has done so far, because even though he felt threatening and all that, he just like, there wasn't much to the character that I felt like they could have added a lot more. Final thoughts, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this was a really fun Marvel film. I had fun all the way through. I laughed at almost every joke they threw at me. The action was a lot of fun. Rocket and Groot, like I said, steal the show. They're like definitely the highlight. Chris Pratt does an amazing job too. The characters, the five heroes in general, are just fun to watch them interact and bicker with one another. This is what a team movie should be like. Going back to the original X-Men, something that I know a lot of people were annoyed by was how Hugh Jackman always got so much screen time, and some of the other X-Men were always pushed to the side, because I know there's a lot of fans out there that want to see some of those other X-Men get more screen time, and they're always annoyed that Wolverine has to be the one that gets the most. This movie doesn't do that. Even though Peter Quill, Star-Lord, is the main character, they still treat the other four members as equal members of the team. They're not, no one is pushed back. Everyone feels like they're getting equal treatment. And it's great. It's a lot of fun to see something like that. This is what a team movie should be, if it's not done in the style of the Avengers, where they're setting up characters first and then brought together. This movie doesn't have that advantage, so it does a great job at doing this as a first time thing. This is the first time we're seeing these characters, and they do it in such a great they do it in such a great way that you don't feel any of those five characters were left out, like one was more favorable than the other. You're gonna have your favorite characters, but don't worry, because none of them are left out. So I give this movie an 8 out of 10. I thought it was that good. I don't think it's as good as the last three Marvel films. I'm not counting the Avengers in this. But Iron Man 3, so far Phase 2 consisted of Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and now Guardians of the Galaxy is the fourth one, leading up to the Avengers 2, which is coming out next year. And I'd say it's not as good as those three, but it is like a Marvel Phase 1 movie, where it's setting up these characters. It's on its own right now, but eventually it's going to be linked into the... So that just makes me more excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which was just announced for July, I think 27, 2017. I know it was just around announced recently that they're going to release that one in July of 2017. And yeah, I can't wait for it. And I can't wait to see how this links up to the Avengers, because this movie is very different from the other Marvel films. And it is going to be very interesting to see how they do all that. So go check out Guardians of the Galaxy, guys. Remember to stay at the end of the credits, because there's a little bit of a surprise there. I think you'll all enjoy it.